Working together to make Leon County safer. All in. All in. Woo!
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another LCSO podcast. I have the honor of speaking with Captain James Pittman today. And for those of you who may be familiar with him, he is home to Tallahassee. And so many of you, I am sure you are ready for this conversation. We're going to learn about what he does, his journey, how did he get here, and some of the many benefits that the Leon County Sheriff's Office is getting from him serving in his current role. So welcome, Captain Pittman.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Yes. So right now, for those of you who may not be familiar, who are you and what are you currently doing at the Leon County Sheriff's Office?
For sure. So as you said, I'm Captain James Pittman. I've been at the Sheriff's Office here for a little over, I think it's around 13 years now, 16 years total in law enforcement. And right now, I have the absolute privilege to work with a very high-powered team in the Professional Standards and Research Bureau at the Sheriff's Office, which is a part of the Office of Inspector General.
Nice. Where did so you grew up in Tallahassee.
I did, yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your background before you came to the Sheriff's Office.
Sure. So I started in law enforcement very young. I know a lot of people come into the career and they have a whole nother, profession behind them, and they get the calling. I got the calling extraordinarily young. So
how young?
I went into the academy when I had just turned 19.
Oh, nice.
And I got out of the academy and started applying for jobs and started off my career at the Havana Police Department, which is just over the river in Gadsden County. And I worked there for not even a year before I started working for the Gadsden County Sheriff's Office. And I worked there for just under 3 years. So right at 3 years working in Gadsden County before on my third application to the Leon County Sheriff's Office, I was hired and came to work here in 2013.
Nice. So at 19, what inspired you to pursue law enforcement?
Yeah, I think that I had a very, and still do, have a very almost romanticized idea of what law enforcement is and what it can be for a community. It's a very high responsibility and therefore high accountability profession. And it is a highly necessary profession for any community to have that enforcement mechanism. And it might be a police department, or it might be a sheriff's office, or it could even be a state enforcement agency, or whatever it is. All around the world, there is this enforcement mechanism where, and maybe a better way to say it is just the who do you call when everything is in chaos and you don't know what to do? Right. And something about that as a teenager, then a recent graduate of high school, called to me, and it was I wanted to be the person to answer that call and restore order where there is chaos, and make my community a community that's done so much for me just a little bit better in whatever way, in whatever context that I could.
Any of your friends also join law enforcement, or did you kind of start your own path?
Yeah, I would say I kind of cut my own path. As far as being certainly the first member of my family in law enforcement. And I didn't really have any kind of great influences in law enforcement before. In fact, as I was exploring this sort of where can I serve with my career, I first looked at the Coast Guard was something that I was interested in doing.
Okay.
And just ended up in some conversations with my family, going to the academy to sort of test out how that would feel. And I'm so glad that I did. But since then, several of my friends that I grew up with have come to work in law enforcement, all over the world, but many here in the community as well. And it's really cool, especially some of them here at the sheriff's office, to have friends that, I remember going to pool parties when we were in middle school together. Yeah. And now we're here, working shoulder to shoulder at this agency, and some at the police department and some at the Florida Highway Patrol. And it's been cool.
That's nice. How do you think your upbringing helped you be a good deputy and also even a good supervisor?
Yeah, I credit a great deal to my parents, especially now being a parent and seeing a lot of what goes into raising a kid to make good choices. How intentional a parent has to be, to bring up a child in a way to where the default is what is the right thing and how can I make this better? What is the right choice and how can I make that choice? And so I give a whole lot of credit to my parents and a lot of appreciation to my parents who certainly did that for me, and my community. I came up here in Tallahassee, heavily involved in the churches that I've gone to over the last 35 years of my life.
Right.
I just remember a couple of very instrumental, shaping, formation periods of my life where there were strong people guiding me in the way of honor and integrity and good morals and good structure and habits. And all of that sort of, I think, led to a place to where as I come into this law enforcement career, those principles are applied here. And I probably credit it to just a strong parenting and a strong community.
That's awesome. Speaking of just being able to make solid, good choices, right or wrong, or the best decision, which we know, and I'm pretty sure the listeners, they're also aware that on the job, a lot of the decisions they have to be made very quickly. Training is involved, but still there's a human aspect to who we are. Talk about your work currently, some of the things that you're working on, which directly ties into kind of this conversation that we're having about choices and, just doing what others may think a law enforcement officer may know, but in the moment, things can change. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, I currently work in the Office of Inspector General, which is, it's a time-old sort of institution, an Inspector General, and it's designed to be that independent, free radical hand that looks into and conducts independent investigations and audits and finds how to improve. And within the sheriff's office of the whatever entity it is, an Inspector General could be for a state entity or whatever. I work for obviously the Inspector General here at the sheriff's office, right. So we're looking at the sheriff's office,
right?
And it's to your point, we have situations that are rapidly evolving and highly dynamic, and split seconds decisions have to be made by deputies, and it's so important to invest so much time on the front end with training and guidelines. Both of those are parts of the Inspector General's office. In PSR, that's my bureau, Professional Standards and Research. We handle the policy development and the written directives that come down that are guiding documents for the agency. And then we have the Training Bureau, which is a different bureau within the Inspector General's office that applies instruction on those policies and on high liability stuff. So that in blue skies, I call it, when we're not inside of those rapidly developing, highly dynamic, scary situations, we can sit in a classroom and talk through these policies and talk through principles of honor and integrity and what those right choices are. Right. And then we can drill that with training and have conversation related to the lowest level use of force that could be used, or de-escalation techniques that, perhaps have to be trained, stuff like that. And so, as I'm sure you've heard many times, in those rapidly evolving situations, everyone tends to revert back to their training. Everyone tends to revert back to what's known to them. And so that's in the Inspector General's office. We invest a great deal of time and effort in making sure that those policies create a clear guardrails for deputies to work in. And training, I know, does a fantastic job of preparing deputies for those split-second decisions.
And so for the listeners, if you're thinking about the Office of Inspector General as a whole, it is a second layer of oversight to ensure that agency members are following policy, and you're also creating what those policies are based off of conversations that are being held between you and who else?
Yeah, I mean, and as far as the Inspector General's office is concerned, it's even more than that. It's actually a rather novel idea to have an Inspector General's office at a sheriff's office.
Right, because this is new.
It's newish for here, and it's newish for the profession. There are Inspector General's offices for some state agencies. In Florida, as you know, the sheriff is a constitutional office.
Right.
He has full authority over the sheriff's office. Whereas, say, FWC, for an example, they have a by statute Inspector General that has a great deal of oversight over FWC operations by statute.
Right.
And the sheriff does not have to institute an Inspector General, but our sheriff, who is very forward thinking, as you know, and has a great interest in instituting policies, procedures, and practices that conform to the absolute highest level of integrity.
Right.
He told us a year ago or so he wants an Inspector General's office, and he wants it to be done right.
Yeah.
And I remember that conversation because, you know, some of us had our eyebrows up. I mean, that's different. That's new. That's not normal. And for a sheriff to put someone into place who has authority to shine a light into the dark corners and find stuff that's not working, and then, you know, air out some dirty laundry. That's not a normal thing to do, but that's what we do. So to answer your question, the Inspector General and all of the parts in it, our goal is for that integrity piece, independent investigations where we need it. That's classically known as like IA, internal affairs sort of functions. But then we have all of the continuous improvement elements. So that's training, and that's the accreditation that that seeks the best practices across the nation now that we are a nationally accredited law enforcement agency. And our research division that handles I mean, we have PhDs working here who are conducting research in partnership with the Florida State University, the FAMU, all seeking. I mean, not just seeking out the cutting edge research that exists right now, which we kind of get through the accreditation side. We're conducting our own research to find. We have the de-escalation project that's coming out soon. This is very novel and new. So yeah, we're on the forefront of a lot of things when it comes to continuous improvement and integrity here at the sheriff's office.
You know, people always ask the question, even, how do you build trust between law enforcement and the community? And this is one of many ways that it's being conducted in Leon County through our Office of Inspector General.
Yeah, I agree. The obviously the first step to building trust is having conversations, and I think we do that very well here at the sheriff's office. But we also have to back up what we say with real practices that work. And an Inspector General, like as far back as, you know, hundreds of years ago, when Inspector Generals were a thing overseas, you know, before we were colonized, Inspector Generals were a thing. And it's a time tested and true office that works when it comes to keeping checks and balances for integrity at different institutions. And that's what we've instituted here.
Nice. Thank you for that. So for those of you who are listening, we're having a conversation with Captain James Pittman, who in the earlier part of the conversation talked about some of those checks and balances and policies and procedures that are in place that are being conducted under one of our newest units, the Office of Inspector General's office. Now, moving to more of just you. Yeah. What do you enjoy most about law enforcement?
I spoke to it a little bit earlier. I think, you know, from my perspective, I think one of the most rewarding parts of law enforcement is being a resource to the community when there's no resource available. You know, if someone in their normal life, they know what they're going to do if they have a flat tire. They know what they're going to do. You know, even on some of their bad days, right? They know what they're going to do. They have the resources in many cases to handle a whole lot of problems in people's life within our community. But there comes a time when someone has such a bad day that it stretches all the way past any resource that they have. And what do? They pick up the phone and call for help.
Yeah.
And we get to be the ones who answer that call. And it's not always a conventional solution to every problem. We are, as a profession, by the very, if you broke down all of our job functions at a very, very basic level, we are problem solvers, and we get to go in and solve a problem, and help and be a very real resource for our community on some of their, perhaps the worst day in somebody's life. We're there to restore the order and make things better. And there's just, I don't think there's a better profession out there that does anything like that.
I love that. And you're 3 years past the decade. So do you have a memory or something that has stuck with you up until this point where you're like, I love this, and it was just a rewarding moment? Have you had that yet?
Oh,
I know there may be.
I get asked that question a lot, and sometimes it's hard just to reach back and pluck one memory out. I tend to think of things randomly and think, oh, that's a good one, and oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
There's stuff through different eras of my career. Career. I've worked in uniform patrol, and you take I found a kid's lost dog one time.
Oh, wow.
That's silly, right? But it's something that you think of from time to time. And I worked in the traffic unit where we did everything from, doing a special traffic enforcement in a neighborhood where a mother was terrified that, speeding drivers were going to hurt her playing children. And so we got to arrive and make that situation better and make recommendations to the county for traffic control, and this is sort of silly things, but you're also responding to very high liability stuff and saving lives and doing CPR and working in the investigations bureau where we have the opportunity to be involved in high level cases. I remember one in particular that I won't get into the details, but we were able to rescue a child out of a very bad situation. And I still have a picture of him and I sitting at one of those court proceedings after the fact that his aunt took that sits on my shelf and down in my office. And after I guess 16 years total of doing this, the memories of those times that you got to do something that made a difference really starts to add up. And that's when you can look back and be proud of what you've done, for sure. Well,
that's good. And yes, just to correct me, 16 years total. Yeah. 13 years at the sheriff's office.
Yeah, that's right. 13 here.
Real dedication. Love it. We're just, we're almost close to the end of wrapping the conversation up. If there's something that you think a listener should know about the person behind the badge, what would you tell the listeners who may be listening today?
Great question. I think that perhaps not even a willing misconception. I don't know if a misconception could be characterized as willing in the first place, but I think something that's common, perhaps not in the front of people's minds, but in the back, is that law enforcement professionals, the folks riding around in the crisp looking vehicles with the nice uniforms, that they have it all together, or that they are just a function of the community that works by itself. And that is simply not the case. The sheriff's office, every member here is a member of this community, just like all of the members of the community are. And we have a vested interest in this community. And while we have a very a unique job, we also can't do it all ourselves. And I think that's probably the misconception of law enforcement in general, is that it is solely the responsibility, or even that we have the capability to have the sole responsibility of maintaining law and order and making this community a safe place to be. And it's simply not the case. There's not enough of us. We don't have a cumulative across the board. We've got people with 1 year of experience and people with 30. We're not all experts, and we've got trainees out there doing their best. We've got new supervisors who are out there doing their best. We've got new hires come on every week, and we have an agency of around, I think, just under 800 people, and there's a lot more than that in Tallahassee. everywhere that we're able to make a real difference, and you can look back on the initiatives of the sheriff's office, everywhere where we have seen the needle really move, it's been in collaborative efforts with our community. It has been all tied into that all-in philosophy that the sheriff always is speaking about. I think of the big initiatives, the big research initiatives.
Right.
None of that would have moved without FSU being involved. And you think about the homeless outreach initiative. None of that would have moved without all of those different programs being involved. And it comes all the way down to a neighborhood level where somebody is interested enough to pick up the phone and call and tell a deputy what they've seen and have a conversation. It really is a community-wide effort. And I believe that we can really significantly move the needle on safety and security in our communities when when everyone in the community has feel like they are also a junior deputy sheriff,
right?
And they're here to help.
And that's funny because we are just speaking of the junior deputy sheriff. I mean, we're starting. Have you seen the Sheriff Walter Safety Star?
I have, yeah,
I have, yeah. And we're trying to push. It's in the works, but we're trying to push it in elementary schools from kindergarten to third grade. The junior deputy and having this up close and personal idea from 5 years old. Sheriff Walt McNeil and all of the deputies and everybody at the agency is here to help, and you continue to be a good kid and you can become a junior deputy as young as 5 years old. And so that's exactly
I love that.
What you're saying is where we are, just trying to work our way down from CSMB with that middle and high school age, and then kind of let's start a little bit younger before they get there, because it's just like what you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, the upbringing. It has an essential role in how we go about our adulthood life. Yeah.
And how do you feel connected with how a part of your community do you feel? And
right.
That all comes into community at every level.
At every level. Yeah. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. And I'll just say this because we have one more segment that I don't tell people about until the very end, but the listeners love it. It's our rapid fire questionnaire. And I'm just going to ask you certain questions and you just shoot the first answer out. Okay. But before I say that, wonderful. I think the listeners will also say that based off of this conversation, there's so much in store. And, for you and what you're going to do, the de-escalation report, I can just feel it. And so hopefully, whatever that may be, if I, am around or whatever, that you think about this conversation, because you're going to hear it back in 10 years from now, because we're making history right now.
That's true.
Absolutely. So you ready for the questions? Or
rapid questions. You said it's going to be. Should I prepare myself for this, or what?
Nope. Nobody's prepared. Okay, this is going to be very simple. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
Yep.
Coffee or energy drink?
Oh goodness, what time of day? At some point in the day, I'm going to switch over to cold caffeine.
One or which one?
I got coffee in my hand.
Okay, coffee. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl for sure.
What's the one word that describes your leadership style?
Resourceful.
Nice. Patrol or investigations?
Patrol.
If you weren't in law enforcement, what career would you have chosen?
Oof. Goodness, I have no idea.
Okay. Well, we're going to skip that one. Favorite off-duty hobby?
Music, playing music, yeah.
Snacks or healthy treats?
Snack me up.
Any favorite vacation destination?
International.
And then last one, finish this sentence.
Okay.
Leadership means?
Being a resource to your team.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Captain Pittman. I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you to our listeners. And is there anything else that you wanted to share before we close out?
I don't think this has been a great conversation. I hope we get to do it again.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Working together to make Leon County safer. Oh, yeah.